Hello, everyone. The one called fate knocks at your door. It's
No way,
Hunt.
we don't want any.
we don't want any lightning AoEs. We're all full. But yeah, the one called fate knocks on your door. Yada yada yada. It's Hunt back with another episode of Tabletop Recap. We're joined by our regular co-host, Big Boy Chungus.
Hello.
And we also have G returning as our beautiful guest star.
Hello.
That's it. But yeah, so someone tried their hand at DMing today.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Had a few bumps and bruises along the way, but I think overall we had a really good time and it was successful so far.
It's like when most people DM, it's like a normal like highway. When you DM, it's like a horse trail. No offense, I'm just joking around.
I just need to watch more people do it and I need to practice more myself.
Yeah, so we're all going to roll for initiative to see who gets to start off the podcast. Nat 1.
20.
You got a Nat 20?
Yep.
I got a critical fail.
That's been your go-to L day.
I've rolled like 10 crit fails today.
I got some good practice learning how to punish crit fails today, thanks to you.
Yeah. We also met the God
There were
Goblin.
two really good
Shh,
ones.
we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not to Goblin Jesus yet. But well, it's your campaign anyway, so go ahead and start us off.
Okay, so this campaign, it's more of an encounter really, but I am running the the Sunless Citadel from the Tales from the Yawning Portal supplemental material for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Basically what has happened is G, Connor, and Hunt are playing as respective characters trying to figure out a series of mysteries that has been going on in the village of Oakhurst. A little village, farming village that I have situated about 50 miles southeast of the city of Waterdeep. So
Lore.
I had to do a little bit of lore building. Oakhurst can honestly be anywhere based on the supplemental material. You can do it in a original world homebrew. You can do it anywhere in Faerun you want. Because I eventually plan on running Waterdeep at some point and I wanted this for practice, I just decided to make it closer to Waterdeep in case you guys wanted to have crossovers or anything like that with these characters.
Yeah, I like how we walked into town and that old man was like, "Y'all coming from Waterdeep or going to Waterdeep?" And it was like, you saw which direction we came from.
He was old and geriatric.
I'm an old man and every day I wish I was dead.
So, do you want to talk about your characters? Connor's not here to talk about his, but we can kind of fill in some of the stuff that he did.
Yeah, Connor was
Strange.
Edgelord McEdge. What was his character's actual name? Do you know?
He literally named his character Connor after him. His character's name is Connor.
I mean, I literally...
Oh no! Bad!
Connor wanted to create basically an avatar of what he believes himself to be.
That makes so much more sense!
That dude was an edgelord!
He wanted to be an agent for hire who burgles and digs up information for various underground networks, basically for Faerun's version of the, the SCP Foundation.
No!
And he wanted to be an artificer?
He's an artificer with a criminal background.
Yeah, he's an artificer, but he's built like a rogue.
Yeah, like, that was such more rogue tactics.
What a weird character.
I thought he was... it never occurred to me that he was an artificer.
I advised him... I didn't tell him what to do. I'd have been a bad DM if I just told him what to do.
I love how right now you're like, let me explain why this isn't my fault.
But he was very adamant about what he wanted, and I just helped him work it into a viable character with stats. The rest was up to him.
That's pretty cringy, bro. I mean, I made fun of him to his face a lot about being an edgelord, but if I was paying more attention...
He was being himself.
Oh, God.
Goodness.
Oh,
Explains why he thought
Lord.
there was a conspiracy in the town.
A good thing he doesn't like us enough to listen to our podcast.
But he actually played fairly well. You know, despite the fact that he is an edgelord, he is being a team player. He's being helpful. He's not playing chaotic or lawful stupid.
I like how when our characters met, we asked his name, and he was like, "That's classified."
And then immediately told us what he was there for.
Immediately told us his name.
Oh no, that's his whole thing. He didn't want me to go into a whole bunch of lore about his character, and I'm like, "You sure? I can totally come up with something with criminal organizations from Waterdeep or whatever." And he said no. And if you look on his character sheet in the background, it just says in parentheses classified.
Says that on his character sheet?
Yes.
That's so cringe.
I don't mind telling you guys that now because we're well into the story at this point.
That's so cringe.
Oh, and I just at the beginning of the campaign, I just straight up asked, like, okay, who am I working with? Just to try and get a feel for everybody.
Connor's like, that's classified.
And I'm just like, okay, little gremlin.
Tell us about your character, G.
Okay, so I played basically just, it's my first character that I sat down and with Big Chungus and sat down and
You
created.
put about as much heart into this as I did Fate.
I thoroughly enjoy the character I made. I probably went a bit more into this backstory than I needed to, but just because I enjoyed making the character. So I was a brass dragonborn paladin who worshipped the god of Baphomet, who was just kind of the
He's the goody two-shoes dragon of the universe.
I've only played with one other Dragonborn Paladin, but they lived for 4 years, for the entirety of D&D Club, and they're still alive today. They've been around for over a decade.
That's probably a level 20 character now.
They are. They're a retired character. I have a retired character from the same campaign.
It's just someone that I've been wanting to get into, and it's someone I've actually kind of enjoyed playing.
Well, what's your character's name?
His name is Myastan Balasar. So,
Good dragon name.
Thank you.
I like that.
It actually kind of plays into his backstory because he's one of the descendants of the founding members of his religious church, whose name was also Balasar.
And you don't have to really talk about like your motivation for adventuring or anything right now. You guys will probably uncover that more later.
I know he's looking for an axe because he asked every single NPC we walked by.
Anyone who had any information about mystical or not, have you seen an axe? Because that is what I'm looking for.
I'm looking for an axe.
Which, by the way, I should have probably done a little bit more role-playing as DM because this is freaking Dungeons & Dragons. 75% of the population carries around some form of axe.
I see axes all the time. You need a woodcutter's axe. You need a battle axe.
It would be because that's the whole reason I was there is that I was searching for one of the axes in one of my lost founding members of my church.
Cool.
And I can't metagame because I'll obviously forget that because I don't care.
So, what about your character, Hunt?
Clarence Spellshell. My first D&D character with a regular first name. Ever. Clarence is a Tortle paleo druid, and a paleo druid is basically just a druid, but for dinosaurs.
Yeah, your character grew up in a region around not on Chult, but in
he grew up on Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World plateau.
Which, I don't know the exact name of it, but that area does exist in Faerun, so I totally allowed it. And your guy was raised by dinosaurs. Which specific type?
Iguanodons, the ones with the sharp thumbs. If you talk dumb, you get the thumb. Yeah, so if I ever do a unarmed attack, because I have claws that I can do an unarmed attack with, I just stab with my thumbs. I even tried to pick a lock with my thumb today, which was pretty cool.
Actually,
Didn't
you
work.
tried, and Connor broke a pick off in it.
Yeah. But, yeah, he's just a druid. I didn't give him any big fancy backstory, because I didn't think this... I know we're playing a one-shot, so I was like, this isn't a big campaign. I'm not going to do a big backstory like I did with Gaddock or with Kabuto or like I did with Kivala for Waterdeep when that happens.
You named a character Kabuto?
Yeah, Kabuto the End.
Is that purposely after the character in... Is it Naruto?
No. Kamen Rider.
It's a Japanese name.
Oh.
Kabuto is a type of beetle in Asia.
Okay.
I swear there's a character there.
We believe you.
Yeah.
So those are the character introductions, and basically what's going on is, for their various reasons, there is a mystery in the form of a blight that is affecting the town of Oakhurst. Villagers are being found mysteriously overnight dead in their fields with needle marks and rough, jagged slashes from an unknown source. So you guys did some investigating into the village, talked to a couple of the NPCs and key players, and not only did you get pointed in the general direction for the mystery of the blight, but you also picked up a couple of side quests as well. Why don't you guys... Do you guys remember much of those?
Well, I feel like finding the missing people is
the main
basically taking us in the same exact direction as our blight thing.
Right. So
also, we got to save a dragon.
So the big thing is that, because when we first got into town, Connor and Hunt's big thing is first I went to what was a shrine, but it was attempted looking at a morgue, trying to look at one of the bodies. Whereas the guy we talked to when I first went in there mentioned that one of the matriarchs of the town had two of her family members, 2 kids. They say kids, but they're like adults.
Yeah, Charwin.
And their ranger bodyguard or whatever.
Right. It was the Hukrell family is one of the nobles that basically operates this farming village. The 2 children, Charwin and Sir Bradford, are the 2 children of the matriarch, and their ranger bodyguard went to investigate the cause of the blight. And you guys learned from talking to them that there is a sunken citadel just outside of town that goblins will frequently come and to and fro, bringing mysterious fruit twice each year. Other than that, there's no other hints they could give you. You just know that the blight might have something to do with the Citadel, and that the 2 or 3 people who tried to investigate first went missing. They've been gone for about a month and haven't returned yet.
I was given a reward to find them.
She did. She is a noble, so she did offer you 250 gold per character to bring back her children alive. And if you couldn't, she'll give you half the gold for just their signet rings. So you guys proceed to take this information and you head off towards the Citadel. And we had a rather, dare I say, rocky intro to this.
What do you mean, rocky? I mean...
Getting the party together, if you don't start with the party already together knowing each other, it's always rocky and awkward. Because you kind of have to force yourselves to get together, and it just doesn't make a good story.
It doesn't flow very well.
I tried to do it just because
It only flowed well when Kami started his campaign, and that's it.
Because, yeah, it
didn't flow well at the beginning of Karen's campaign.
Yeah, I kind of took some inspiration from hers, but I didn't want to copy it, word for word.
Yeah, you did a good job with our little notes telling us our motivations.
So the Citadel was, I said earlier that it was a sunken Citadel. That was because this thing has essentially been swallowed up by the earth, and it is now in this massive trench on the side of the road leading out, or just outside of Oakhurst. So you guys wind up climbing down a set of crude stairs leading down, and this is where you guys started fumbling a little bit, because in order to access the Citadel, you had to cross a debris field. And Connor kept trying to make these throws and abilities where he was going to tie a rope off on the other side, and he kept failing strength and dexterity checks.
Yeah. So he threw his stones down to light up the things. There were rats.
Yes, you guys did get ambushed by rats.
We didn't.
Which you diffused that situation by.
We completely avoided like the first 5 combats.
Yeah, you guys didn't fight anything until much later.
Because Hunt's character just like... He didn't want to strike first at the rats, so he tried pleading with them first. And like 9 times out of 10, they just left.
Yeah, and I would convince one rat, and then that rat would convince the other rats that they were like, these guys are just passing through. We don't need to protect our territory. And then they would just leave. And, it's a level 1 adventure. Lots of big rats, therefore.
Right.
And then we did that with several more rats until kobolds. And then we passed like 2 kobold encounters also.
Right.
Because we befriended them.
So basically the kobolds, there's a little colony of them that is living in the first half of this Citadel. And they're not immediately hostile, but if you're not careful, they could have become hostile. And you basically skipped over a whole bunch of combat encounters right off the bat. Just because
I was nice to that one kobold.
Yeah, Meepo.
My character is...
I want to adopt Meepo.
Yeah, my character's greatest flaw is also his greatest strength. Like, he's really nice and can make friends easily, but he's also...
Yeah, I think your philosophy is you would rather befriend than harm, and you'll only harm if necessary.
Yeah, like after we roll our initiative, my first turn, I don't even attack.
Which I really like. That adds a lot of flavor to it. Because there was one time where you actually did befriend someone, or an animal, and he helped you in combat.
Yeah, I got a pet for like 2 seconds. We'll get to that.
So you guys meet Meepo in the Citadel, and he is basically a dragon keeper. He informs you that the kobolds worshipped a white dragon wormling, but has recently been stolen, kidnapped, removed by the goblins who live in the other half of the Citadel. And these guys basically have gang turf wars in the corridors. So you agree to help Meepo and his matriarch, Yusdrael, in agreeing to bring back their wormling, Calcrix. You guys begin making your way into what is considered the neutral territory, or as I call it, the rat quarter. And you guys proceed. You see more rats as you start making your way into this more unknown situation.
Yeah, and then I was like, I'll do my rat befriending thing, and I rolled no, I think it rolled a nat 1, and I just rolled really high, and so it became my pet. And normally, when I charmed one of the rats, the others would follow suit. But then Connor had to open his big mouth and give the DM ideas, and he was like, well, now you charmed one, now you gotta charm the other two. And that's not how it had worked the whole time. He just wasn't paying attention. And then you were like, you know what? Yeah, I'll attack with the other two. And I was like, balls!
So yeah, you managed to keep, you made a rat friend while vanquishing 2 more rats, and you got a little bit of loot because these rats, they make.
Yeah, I had him bring me his nest, which was a ton of stuff.
He liked you so much, you went into his nest, gathered up all the little bits of shiny metal and gold, silver, whatever pieces, and then he goes, bleh, and he spits it out at your feet.
But after the combat, he only had 1 HP left, and I wasn't going to use Cure Wounds on a 7 HP rat. Let's be real.
So the first thing you do, by the way, G's character at this point is blinded because he rolled a critical fail on a perception check.
Which happened to him like 3 times.
Yes.
Twice. It only happened twice.
But that happened twice, and then he also couldn't remember who his gods were because of a nat 1.
I tried to do a religious check.
Nat 1 religion check. I just forgot how to pray.
Oh no.
Which is funny because my religion doesn't rely on prayer.
But so he's blinded in another room while everyone else is exploring this larger open room, and it has a fountain in it. And
let's talk about the first fountain.
So
I swapped these fountains in my logic, apparently.
So in the room before we made our little rat friend, there's a fountain, and written in Draconic, it says, "Let there be fire." You guys decided not to do it, but I made a little check with me.
By the way, me and Hunt are the only ones who speak Draconic as well as the Kobold. So Connor is completely left out of any of this information.
So we were speaking Kobold, or we were speaking Draconic to Kobolds the entire time, and he was just like,
what? Any of you guys speak Celestial?
Why did he pick Celestial?
I told him he could have picked any language.
The least practical language.
I mean, the ones because I had Common, Draconic, and for my 2 other languages, I chose Dwarvish and Undercommon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because it's Dwarvish. I feel is like another common language you just see out in the wilderness, and then Undercommon is just like it's fiends and demons, isn't it?
No, Undercommon is for creatures who live in the Underdark. So Drow, Duergar, and dark deep gnomes, basically.
So it's not even for dungeoning. It's still not an uncommon thing to have with you.
You have more use out of Undercommon than you would Celestial.
I mean, it's not like we're going to be talking to the gods. So
the languages that you're going to use probably the least are Celestial, Primordial, and maybe there's a third language that's very exotic and rare. I just don't know.
Whatever. Let's move on. But yeah, it said let there be fire, and I was like, well, if I read this out loud, there's going to be a fire trap activate, was my logic.
And you guys decided to ignore it, but I had Meepo make a few checks while you guys were, role-playing. And all of a sudden, while you guys are huddled against trying to figure out what to do with this certain door in the room, Meepo goes, let there be fire!
And of course, me and Hunt just turn around and panic.
We were like, no!
No, Meepo, no!
Meepo, what have you done?
But then it was like, it gave us a potion of fire breathing.
Which was pointless for me.
Yeah, so I took it.
It's still a helpful item. So Meepo's like, I give to friends for helping Calcrix.
Yeah, and then the next dragon statue said, let there be death on it. And my character's standing in front of it with his 1 HP rat. And as a player, I get this huge grin on my face. And I'm like, it sounds like a trap. Last one gave us something. 50-50 shot. It's going to be beneficial or funny. So,
and I would say 50-50 to you guys. It's 100% something from what I know.
Yeah.
So it effectively gave him the D&D equivalent of cancer.
Yeah, basically it turned the room with that particular fountain into a gas chamber. All the toxic gas starts spewing out of the fountain dragon's mouth.
Killed my rat.
Killed the rat.
Killed my own pet.
It poisoned you for a full 10 minutes, and Connor and Meepo managed to hold their breath, and they only got poisoned for like a minute.
And it was funny.
I carried it right away, though.
Because I was blind in the other room, because I refused to leave the wall, because I didn't want to lose my bearings until I was not blind, so I wasn't in the room. Unaffected.
So you guys are goofing around in the room with the poison, and you're all getting upset. And as DM, you start hearing scratching and banging coming from this adjacent room to the poison fountain room. And 3 giant rats run out, followed by this 6-foot-long, bloated, nasty, diseased rat called the Bloated One or Gut Hurt or something like that in Draconic language. So this is like a legendary rat in the Citadel. And you guys beat the crud out. It put up a good fight, but you managed to beat the crud out of it.
To be fair, had I not picked up my protection fighting style that my paladin had, we probably would not have fared so well, because I was making
Connor definitely didn't fare well.
Well, Connor was standing on the other side of the room.
He didn't fare well in any combat in the 2 sessions.
I told...
He literally hid behind us most of the time with 2 HP.
I told Hunt to make sure that you were standing next to me, because anyone attacked, because with my protection stance, anyone who's attacked any of my allies, as long as they're right next to me, the enemies attacking them roll with disadvantage. And Connor, for whatever reason, kept going out in front.
He couldn't understand. Bless his heart. He's new to the game.
He's a new player. He gets...
Which, to be fair, I've made the same mistakes too.
Right. But
stop shushing him. You've shushed him multiple times.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to. But Connor learned the hard way and early on what attacks of opportunity was from enemies.
And then he's kept doing
it,
which was the worst
2
part.
to 3 more times after he learned that. And I'm like, Connor, you have to disengage first and then move. You can't just...
Stop running behind me. It's killing you.
And then... This is awesome, but I feel bad for doing it. Connor was hyping up his weapons, because as an artificer, you can infuse weapons with magical properties, giving them more support, utility, or just more damage.
This is when he rolled 1?
Yeah. Yes. He had a simple dagger that he infused with a power buff, and then he cast a spell on it, giving it arcane weapon, making this thing like a dagger made of kryptonite that would have slit Superman's throat.
Ooh.
And he wants to throw this thing at the big rat, but he crit failed the attack. So what I did was I had him, he said, you lean back to throw it, and at the height of your arc, you let it go prematurely and it goes straight in the air. You look up as you see it come straight down blade first, and it hits you in your left shoulder blade.
And it only did 1 damage, but he only had...
No, it didn't.
No, it did full magic. He rolled 2d6s and a d4.
Oh, he did?
And he only had 3 HP left. He nearly died.
That's right, because he went down to negative 6.
He went to negative 5.
Ah.
So he went into negative stats, and thank goodness Meepo, G, and Hunt's characters you guys quickly eliminated the other rats.
Yeah.
And you just piled on this diseased rat.
Yeah, we beat the diseased rat almost right after he killed himself.
Yeah, because I cleaved my sword into its skull.
Yeah, and then he failed a death saving throw, and I was like, Cure wounds, coming through.
Yeah, you resurrect him back to 3 HP, and he was fully conscious and in pain.
And he kept making sure you were checking for experience, and you were keeping track of that.
Oh my god, every time we killed an opponent, he was like, did we get experience for that? I want to be level 3 more than anything in the world.
Evidently.
And okay, if anyone thinks we're being mean to him, all this has been said to his face already. We're a group that really rags on each other.
Because evidently, Artificer gets a huge power spike at level 3.
All classes start experiencing major class development at level 3.
He also didn't know how to use Google for the past 2
I
days.
was over because I've never played any sort of major. I've never played any sort of major character to a level 2, and I didn't realize how many spells a paladin got at level 2.
Yeah, paladin gets quite a few spells.
That was terrifying. I was too afraid to use any of them.
But you have
They're mostly just very simple prayers, though.
Yeah.
So that happens, and you guys investigated the room that the diseased rat came out of, and that's where you found a ton of treasure, along with the human ranger that was accompanying the 2 Hakrel siblings. Which I made a DM mistake and accidentally
told us you found the ranger.
You guys were going to find it out had you keep searching.
We had already assumed it because process of elimination on the humans down there.
It's a fresh human body.
With no signet ring.
And we've only heard of 4 humans coming down there, only 3 of which are recent.
And then you accidentally revealed it was the ranger, and we went, yeah, we know, we figured it
out. Plus the ring that he did have, it required no check to investigate it.
And it had his name on it.
It had his name on the inside of the ring.
Yeah.
So mistakes were made, but not detrimental mistakes. So after that, we decide to. You guys cleared the rat quarter, and you guys decided to start advancing into goblin territory. And you guys were so adamant about checking rooms for traps and magic at the beginning.
No, Connor was adamant about checking rooms for traps.
Which is not a bad policy.
It's not a bad thing.
But when you run Arcana and everything.
Yeah, when you make 5 checks on every single door, it's excessive. It got to the point, because my character is normally the kind that would just wait and let the others, he's real peaceful. But I had to change how he behaved, specifically so we wouldn't spend 45 minutes in a single room that didn't have anything in it again. So I was just like, I walk through the door. I'm walking through doors. I'm walking through doors.
You do that and you trigger a trap.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have gotten half the as far as we did if I didn't do that, though.
True. And so you trigger this trap, and it's not a lethal trap. It is a bell alarm that notifies the 2 goblins in this elongated room to take cover and prepare to attack. And this room has 2 parts. There's the sleeping quarters in the goblins for 2 goblins that are on the opposite end, and then there's a hallway that is just full of caltrops.
They made that room very well, those goblins did.
Yeah, goblins they're dumb, but they're not stupid. I'll give them that much.
For a race of their intelligence, they are interesting.
True. And this is where things start getting interesting for you. Because these goblins set up shop after hearing the bell go off. And I say, roll initiative. And with caltrops, you have to make a saving throw, or else you take 1 damage and your movement is halved. Which all of you succeeded your throws, but your movement was still reduced, because if you move too much, you have to make another saving throw. And the goblins just started taking pot shots from this makeshift wall that they had set up halfway between their sleeping quarters and the entrance of this door.
Because one goblin rolled a nat 20 on their initiative.
So
that goblin rolled like a god.
That goblin had every
Jesus.
deity.
So
couldn't hit him.
Hunt's character is the first one in the door, so of course the 2 goblins are aggroed to him. The first goblin rolls a nat 20 on initiative, so of course he gets not only his regular attack, but a bonus attack, which Hunt immediately goes into his turtle shell, which gives him a buff to his AC. Yeah. So he's like 21 AC. It takes a lot to hit and damage this guy. The first time the goblin has a +4 to damage, and he rolls a 19, which gives him a 22 to hit, which he does. I say, this goblin pulls his bow back, and he gets it right in the hole where your head would come out of.
And then that extra attack you gave him hit me too somehow.
He rolled an 18 +4. No. He rolled 7. No.
Basic math.
He rolled a 17 +4, gave him exactly 21. And so you took 2 headshots right off the bat.
And Hunt hasn't taken like any damage almost this entire campaign.
I was at max health most of the time. I just but I couldn't hit. I could barely hit anything though. Was the trade-off.
And then after the nat 20 goblin does his attacks, you rolled the second highest initiative, and it's your turn. And you want to thorn whip him into the caltrops, but you crit failed the thorn whip
and choked myself.
Yeah, you brought the whip back, and as you brought it forward, your wrist wasn't cocked right, I guess, and it wraps around your neck, and you choke yourself with a thorn vine.
I went from being max HP at the beginning of that encounter to 3.
But this was Meepo and Connor's time to shine, because they did...
Because the ones that usually suck in the other combats are the ones that mostly kicked his ass.
Yeah, so Connor manages to send off a couple of acid cantrip spells, and he melts the face off of one goblin. And Meepo, who has a little sling tucked away in his back pocket, starts taking caltrops, and the kobolds in this game hate goblins. Like, it is borderline racist. And so Meepo's like slinging caltrops into their eyes and dealing damage, and he's like an ace shot. And eventually you guys do kill the goblins, and Meepo winds up sweeping up all the caltrops, and you guys get like 50 each.
I got that final shot on that on that goblin.
And then just to add insult to injury, you got a crit fail on a perception check. And as you go to look into the room, you trip and fall, and your head hits a stray caltrop that Meepo has yet to pick up.
I rolled so many nat 1s over these past 2 sessions. It was insane. How did I do it?
You gave Chungus a chance to practice his punishment, though.
Yeah, because your punishments did get better as they went along. I liked it.
And
I almost enjoy rolling that once it's safe.
Wait, who rolled the nat one that hit me?
oh, that was when you guys were that we didn't talk about that one where you guys were fighting the skeletons. Hunt actually hit you with a scimitar because you hit a crit one.
Right.
That was me? I don't think that was me, was it?
It was you or Connor. One of you guys hit.
It was Connor. It wasn't me.
All I know is someone like swung something and he caught me right in the side.
Yeah,
That skeleton encounter was worth it. Even though Connor was hiding in the corner with 1 HP.
You guys got some sick items from that skeleton.
Yeah, that necromancer whistle was really cool.
Not destroy. My character probably should have destroyed.
You should have just destroyed it.
But I was just like, I don't want to touch this thing. It goes completely against what I believe in. I'm not touching this.
But the fact that you sacrificed a little bit of you didn't sacrifice really integrity, but you were big enough to say, here, I can't use this, but I'm sure someone else can. I'll just respect you less for it.
Yeah, you gave it to Connor and you were like, if you ever lose this, I won't respect you anymore. And then I was sitting there like, if he doesn't want it used, why not just destroy it? If you would have destroyed that, though, I would have been like, ooh, that was a good item, dude. That was a real good item. Raise 1 undead every 7 days.
So I gave it to the edgiest guy who's probably going to forget he has it.
And if you're
too busy brooding,
and well, you can resurrect an undead once a week, and then you can blow it again if the undead you raised didn't die. You can blow it again to reassert control. That way, because the way Raise Undead works is that you have to constantly maintain control of your creatures. Otherwise, they will revolt against you. Because, mindless corpses. But so, yeah, after you guys cleared the room with the goblins and the caltrops, you decided to make that your camp. Or you decided to head
We moved back into kobold territory to camp so we wouldn't get ambushed.
Yeah, that's friendly territory.
If I was DM and you guys camped in hostile territory like that, just in the middle, right where...
Well, I was waiting for you guys to do that. That's like...
I would have had you attacked. You would have maybe had a short rest, not a long rest. You would have been attacked.
But you guys played that last session really well, and your characters are currently taking a nice long nap.
We'll get all our health back. All our health back, and we'll get all our spell slots back.
Yeah, I used all my spell slots.
Yeah, all our spell slots were used on Cure Wounds, both of us.
Mostly for...
I used all my lay on hands went to me for most part. But that was because you said you were going to use Cure Wounds on Connor.
Yeah.
And then when you ran out of spell slots for Cure Wounds, I used Cure Wounds on Connor and myself.
Wild ride.
Crazy, right?
It was me with a new DM and 2 new players, and I was just like, let's do this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think it's great that you decided to pick a character like you weren't too invested in. Because otherwise, I feel like you would have been like...
Because I knew you idiots would get me killed.
Because I figured you guys would have actually been getting pissed off at what me and Connor were doing.
No.
You, as a new player, you and Connor, for the most part, mistakes were made, but you were very positive, very supportive, and most importantly, you were cooperative. Unlike me on my first playthrough.
The big thing I was looking for, I was just looking for different ways, just to throw my character's personality out there, which I didn't find a lot of.
I'm just glad you weren't lawful stupid, dude. Lots of first-time paladins are lawful stupid.
And you know what? In a lot of these one-offs, there may not be a whole lot of times for you to, role play a lot with your character, because sometimes these one-offs are real combat-focused. Other times, there's just not a lot of lore or story prepped for these. So, for what you're getting, you're doing great.
I mean, because, my plan, for the thing was, because the way Hunt handled animals, he didn't attack his first combat phase. My second was I didn't quite get the hang of it or actually attempt to do it. But I was planning on having, the first part of my combat phase would to ask them to either step down or surrender. Otherwise, I would have to use force.
And
if we're both doing that, though, we'll probably get destroyed.
It is fun to do, but I want to tell you right now, trying to DM and play an NPC is exhausting. I think everyone...
Especially when you're playing everyone's favorite NPC, Bonetooth Scaleskin, and then a barbarian rolls 3 nat 1s and chops them in half, and his dying words are, I blame you! Remember that?
Yes, I do. The second time.
First time you just ripped his arm off. Second time you cut him in half.
I'm going to adopt. My character is going to adopt Meebo, though. I'm going to do my best to adopt Meebo.
We'll end on this story.
And he's super happy about it, too.
We'll end up... Well, that's because he doesn't know what adoption is. Meebo is not He's very loyal to his clan and to his dragon Calcrix, but he's not very intelligent on anything outside of the Citadel. So G's character straight up says, when we're done with all this, I'm going to adopt you. And he's like, what is adopt? Does that involve dragons?
And me being the dragonborn paladin who worships a dragon, I said, yeah, kinda.
And then he's like, huzzah! Hooray for adoption! Adoption! Adoption!
I love him. Even though he's clearly an adult because they put him in charge of babysitting their god.
It's because he's 2.5 feet tall and he has a high-pitched voice.
So gonna adopt him.
Oh my goodness. Carry him around in a baby Bjorn.
Like, if at any point, like, my character shows up at some point in someone else's campaign, he will have Meebo just sitting on his shoulder.
What was the story you wanted to end it on?
Oh, that was it with Meepo getting excited about adoption.
Nice. Yeah, so we played more into the Sunless Citadel, fought a couple of bosses.
Levels were gained, friends were lost.
Well, level was gained. Well, I guess they gained at the end.
Technically, you all gained a level.
Yeah, we all
used the plural tense.
I lost more than you could ever imagine.
We'll get to that. That will be gotten to. But first, we're going to roll for initiative to see who goes first.
5.
9.
7.
Okay, I'm actually going to yield to the DM, which was Big Boy Chungus. And remember, my character is Clarence Spellshell, Druid Turtle, and G is a Dragonborn Paladin, correct? What's his name?
Balasar.
Mayasan Balasar. Anyways, and then, of course, our friend Connor was with us as well, and he was playing him basically a personified version of himself.
Yeah.
At least what he thinks is himself.
It's an artificer, human, but built like a rogue, and his name is Connor.
Don't ask about his backstory, because that's classified.
There's a gun to my head. Classified. That's a new meme.
So we picked up from the last episode where you guys had just made friends by accepting a mission on behalf of the kobolds and cleared out the rat nest and had your first encounter with some goblins. You guys met a couple more goblins, had a little combat session, and after clearing out some more goblins, you came across some...
Well, we thought those goblins smart.
Yes, you did. You used a variety of spells like fog cloud.
I cast fog, and then we shot at them from the fog, and they couldn't see us. I actually rolled really low initiative, but my plan was originally to conjure a flame, because I have a really high AC, and then I would be aimed at and they would attack. Because my long-range attack is just Thorn Whip. That was my only long-range at the time. But yeah, you guys defeated those goblins pretty quickly. You, Miko, and Meepo. I already forgot his name. He's already slipping from my memory.
How dare you?
So yeah, you guys fought those goblins really smart, and then you uncovered a prison area where you found 3 kobold prisoners and a little gnome named Urky Timbers, who he had been there for a while and had been sustaining himself based on his priest-like powers from Paylor.
The cleric.
And he basically told you about, he gave you some new information about the missing family members that you guys have been searching for. He told you a little bit more about how the goblins were operating and what was beyond the goblin territory with the dark. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's basically the dark garden, essentially.
And then Connor made your job 1,000 times harder.
Right. So he told you about... Well, the other thing was he told you about Belok, who is a sorcerer who came by a long time ago and made his home in the bowels of the Citadel. And then there's also twig blights that are coming from Balek's chamber that could explain some of the stuff that's been happening in Oakhurst Village.
You mean lycanthropickles?
Yeah. I didn't know that's what lycanthropickles were.
That's their stat block, but they can give you lycanthropy, but you turn into a pickle.
That's funny. But yeah, so while you and G's character were talking to Urky Timbers, this little gnome priest, Connor decides to try and persuade these kobold prisoners to join you guys. Now, the thing is that these kobolds, they weren't supposed to join you guys. They were just like prisoners. It's like, who are you? Don't hurt us. Blah, blah, blah. And if you happen to be there with Meepo and he tells them that you're here to help find the Calcrix, their dragon, then they're just like, yeah, happy, let's go back home. But no, Connor rolls a nat 20 on persuading these guys, and now we have like a small army of 4 kobolds that includes Meepo, a new priest, an artificer, a paladin, and a druid.
That's a party of 8.
And I have to manage more than half of them. So that was real fun.
When that happened, I was like, oh no.
Needless to say, I had to come up with some creative ways to off some NPCs real quick. And I think I did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I would have
So you
made
only ended up offing 1.
I would have made the DC to convince them like really high, but it wouldn't have mattered because he rolled a nat 20.
Yeah, nat 20. That'll do it every time. That'll either make or break a run through. So yeah, now you've got all these kobolds, and you guys have uncovered some other stuff. You found the food pantry that the goblins use to hold all their stores.
With elf pudding, which we had some not so family friendly jokes about, that you would not believe how we homebrewed how elf pudding is made.
You homebrewed. I had no part in that.
But it's canon now, right?
Sure.
Whoa!
What you wanted
Illegal.
to do with the elf pudding.
The DM said it, therefore it is law.
Well, that was all out of character. My character would never do that.
You guys actually didn't fight any goblins up after that point because after you came through the storeroom, you came across a long building or a long hallway, which you and Erky actually discovered that on the opposite end, behind a much larger door, there was a clatter that sounded like a large group of people were talking, acting, and just going about their daily business. And you guys just said, "Hey, there's a lot of goblins over there. Probably shouldn't go in just yet." And so you guys, Glenn or G specifically, was like, "Hey, let me use the kobolds to go search some of the surrounding rooms," and so that's what you did. They did perception checks for you. Connor did one in a room, and he got a crit fail on it. And so I basically had to punish him for it, and I came up with the idea that it is so dark in here and so brooding that you are now frightened. You cannot enter the room because you're too terrified, and any rolls you try to make in the room are going to instantly fail.
A room too edgy for the edgelord.
Yeah.
But we still didn't go in the room.
Do you guys want me to tell you what was in that room?
Well, we might still go to it.
Yeah, we might still go to it later. So.
Okay. But he did stealth check before going into the room.
Stealth check before everything.
Bless his heart. But so here's the thing: there are 4 kobolds total. 3 that were the prisoners, 1 that was Meepo.
And they had to answer to you for some reason.
Yeah, because we got there, and then I'm sitting there having to establish terms so that the gnome and the kobolds don't murder each other. And then Connor jumps in like, and 1 more term. I'm like, no more terms. And then at the very end, he just managed to horn in there like, you guys follow him like a sergeant.
Yeah, so
pointing at my character.
So he just imposed.
So he not only gets this army that no one wants,
but then he
dumps it on me as my responsibility.
And then you were like, I don't want this army, and he was like, it's a good thing, you get to control them. And then I was like, well, then why don't you want it if it's so good?
I don't want to control them.
He wants the army. He just doesn't want anything to do with it.
I want to have the strength in numbers, but I want none of the responsibility.
A true rogue.
Yeah, I guess so. He's built like one.
What did you do? I'm not saying anything unless you guys become real cool about a lot of things real quick. So
yeah, get back to.
We sent the kobolds off into the different doors in this elongated hallway. 2 of them came back, and they basically said that. These 2 doors are connected to a longer hallway, but they didn't score very high on their perception check, so they didn't give any kind of discernitive markings or shapes of the room. Weird. But the 3rd kobold didn't come back.
That was a smart way to get rid of him. Good job.
And basically, G, Connor, and Meepo, along with the other 2 kobolds, decided to go into this other room.
Before we go in, let's have a little reminder of who Meepo is, for those who might have missed the last one.
Right. So Meepo is he's the dragon keeper for the kobolds. He was the one who was in charge of taking care of Calcrix, the white dragon wormling that was stolen by the goblins, and he loves this dragon. Everyone in their clan does. But it was his responsibility to keep track of it, and when he lost it, he was just a broken mess. And when he met you guys, it was just like, oh my gosh, I can be redeemed. Happy day, happy day.
Yeah, and he had like this super high view of G's Dragonborn, and G just loved Meepo. Like,
I loved Meepo.
he was like, I'm going to
with my
adopt
own
you, and
son.
you're going to go on every quest with us from now on. And he was like, yay, adoption!
He had no idea what it meant, but
He asked you what it meant, and you told him, he asked you, does it have anything to do with dragons? And you being from a church of Dragonborn, he said, yeah, it has something to do with dragons. And he's like, yay, adoption! So we go in there, and it's this room that the dragon or the kobold went to but didn't come out of is a trophy room. There's heads mounted on the walls of both kobolds and other smaller animals. There are disembodied limbs from where the first kobold went in but did not come out. And there's an upturned table, and you guys can just hear crunching and gnawing from the other side. And lo and behold, someone makes a noise, and the white dragon wormling Calcrix picks its head up from over the table.
Exactly who we were looking for.
Which, Meepo's happy because we found Calcrix. You guys are like, hey, look who it is. And the dragon begins to snarl and says in a very menacing tone, Meepo.
So it's just Meepo, Connor, and G. I'm still down the hall at the other door, and I was listening to see if we could get any scraps of information, and I had my translator with me. It was the cleric. So we're not here. Just so you know, we are not here.
It's 3 kobolds, the paladin, and the artificer. Which, right away, that should be kind of in favor of the adventurers because 5v1. And G's character actually... so first things first, Calcrix does not like the kobolds. The kobolds kept it in a cage and would feed it rats as often as they were able to.
Yeah, she didn't get a good deal.
And it's not like she was mistreated. The kobolds did everything they could.
They put her in a cage and fed her rats. It's not like she was mistreated.
Well, for the record, she's a dragon. She could have gotten out of that cage anytime she wanted. She just didn't have anywhere else to go, really. So then the goblins kidnap her, and they put her in this trophy room. And this trophy room has treasure, which all dragons love. She got food that was more than just rats. And she got this much larger room all to herself. Didn't have a cage. So she was already getting a better deal in life just by being with the goblins. And so she saw Meepo, her handler, which she just associates with all the other kobolds. And she was ready to bite his head off.
Man, the other 2 kobolds are cowering outside. They don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, they would get to that point. And G's character was telling her what was going on, and this white dragon wormling is an angsty teenager, and she just starts telling G off. She says, I don't need no assistance from a metallic dragon whelp like yourself. She starts cussing him out. Because
G did some fantastic role play here.
He did.
He rolled very high on persuasion and stuff. You did a great job, my dude.
And you were very close to convincing Calcrix to come willingly back with the kobolds. At the very least, just to leave the Citadel at some point, because she doesn't want to go back. But then something happened on that one roll. No, I remember what it was. Yeah,
she had a condition that he did not want to meet.
The condition.
Yeah, she told you that she would come with you, but on one condition. And what she proceeded to do before telling you what it was kill Meepo.
She bit his arm off.
No, she was going to kill Meepo.
Yeah, that was the condition, but she bit his arm off.
Yeah, she bit his arm off, and Meepo is bleeding now, and he's looking up over at G's character. He's like, help me! And all of a sudden, G proceeds to try and say, are you sure there's no other way to do this? And Calcrix is like, no, this is the only way. And you're like...
So he had to choose between the dragons. He had to basically choose between, something his religion wanted him to do and his adopted son, Meepo. What choice did you make, G?
I finagled my way so that I did make it out of both ways, but I did choose Meepo.
Yeah, he chose Meepo.
You rolled for initiative, and needless to say...
Tell him what happened during the fight.
So the first, I didn't make you do anything. So
I blame you.
Connor tried situating himself up to attack, but I think he whiffed with a crossbow.
He did.
And then it was Meepo's turn, and he went for a one-handed attack on Calcrix, because he even said, don't kill her, just knock her unconscious. So he hits her with the blunt side of his knife, misses, and ends his turn there. And then G goes in for I'm going to use my Paladin Smite, and I'm going to punch this dragon, or I'm going to hit this dragon in the next Saturday. and you crit fail.
I used Wrathful Smite and I crit failed.
And so you rolled max damage. You whiffed on Calcrix. I even said you set it up like this big old baseball swing. You missed the dragon, stagger to a 180 mid-swing, and you decapitate Meepo.
And immediately, I lost all purpose.
I'm gonna get you a shirt that says "I killed Meepo" and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
That is,
I will wear that and I will answer, like, people will be so concerned. Like, who's Meepo? I was like, don't even mention it, man.
Don't remind me of my son.
so at that point, now dragon wormlings aren't a huge threat. The biggest threat that they possess is their breath weapon, because their bite attack is standard and all their movement is like any other medium creature. But that breath weapon one-shotted both you and Connor when you failed your saving throw.
I was only like one, because I went into negative health, but it was only by like 1. So it was only like more than my health pool by 2. So like, if it had just been a little bit less, I'd have been fine. But
at this point, you two are down. Calcrix is roaring in triumph, and Connor's body is now thrown the door out of the room open, so the roar can be heard. You and Hunt and Erky Timbers, the cleric, can now see this wave of frost coming through the door. So you go to investigate to help.
Yeah. So we run into the door, and I try to reason with the dragon, which does not work. I rolled a nat 1
you
to
crit
reason
failed
with the
with the
dragon.
reason. And the way I punished you is, see, the breath attack gets charges. So you roll a d6, and depending on what you roll, you can do that ability again. And I went ahead and gave her another frost breath
An
charge.
insta frost breath. And then, okay, check this out. So she launches the frost breath at me. And for my save, I roll a nat 20 right after a crit fail.
So what you did was I asked, how did you want to perceive this? And so you cast, what was it, Create Flame or something like that?
The Create Flame. And then I held my hand out so the ice went up against the flame and melted as it came into contact with me. But you were like, I'll do you one better since it was a nat 20. And you had the flame like shoot out. And
it was like a Dragon Ball Z scene where frost and fire are, being shot at one another. You overcame her frost with this little cantrip level spell.
Yeah.
And you wound up doing max damage as a firebolt spell when her frost breath was extinguished. So this dragon's like, what is going on here?
Fear the torch.
This should not be happening. I am Calcrix.
Yeah, I knocked down almost half its HP because it was like, what a dragon worm? He's like 32?
32 HP. You did max damage plus your modifiers. You did like 12
and that
HP.
was only your saving throw. You
Yeah,
still had
I
a
beat
whole
it.
other attack phase.
I beat it in one turn, because then
Erky Timbers came in after your turn.
They didn't use their turn to attack, though.
No, Erky Timbers revived Connor, and then your turn went again.
Yeah, and then I got my actual turn. And who baby? I did some stuff. I used the potion of fire breathing we got.
Mm-hmm.
That ended up doing a lot of damage that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little pissed off about because I'm a dragonborn with a natural fire breath
And it was
ability,
stronger
and
than
it was
yours.
much, much stronger than what I had.
I did rib you a little bit because I was like, maybe you said you didn't need this when you got it and you gave it to me, but
I didn't read because like the way mine works, like I get, I think it's a D8.
Yeah.
And then I only get that one D8. You get like 3 D6s.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4. I think it was 4 D6s.
4 D6s.
And I did that. And then I did my regular scimitar attack, which Connor buffed for me. He gave me some enhancements on that. And then you were just like, so are you going to knock it out or kill it? And I was like, I'm going to knock it out. So I slammed the butt of my scimitar onto its head, and the head crashed through the table and bounced up off the stone.
Yeah, you knocked that thing out cold.
She was out. We carried her back, became heroes of the kobolds.
Got a couple of scrolls and a key to a sealed off area that you guys had come across early on.
Yeah, we did go there.
We mourned the loss of our dear departed comrades, but we pushed on. And then the next part of this campaign...
Well, before that, Connor was trying to get more NPCs because he was trying to buy mercenaries off the Queen.
He rolled to talk to her, and he was like, how many of your soldiers can you spare? I want an army, but G's going to take care of it for me.
And he rolled crap charisma, and she basically said, look, we don't like the goblins any more than you do. In fact, we probably hate them more. But any problems you started with them do not instantly become our problems.
And then he was like, let's hire mercenaries.
And I think because you told me, because we only had a few gold pieces, a lot of silver pieces.
I had enough gold piece. I had almost enough gold pieces for an elite soldier.
And like, because you had elite soldiers were what, 100?
Yeah, I had 88 at the time.
All elite soldiers are is that they got the same stats as regular kobolds, except they got a little bit more AC and HP compared to a regular one. But they're kobolds, and they're a tight-knit community, so they're not just going to sell their people into, fighting for other people.
And then he looks at us.
So it was like 100 gold for an elite troop, and then it was like 50 for a regular kobold.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't have enough, and then he looks at us and says, hey, anyone want to pitch in for this?
And
After we just complained about having too many PCs.
We didn't go for it simply to spare Big Boy Chungus from having to play them, because we already had an NPC following us, and we already had the heartbreak of Meepo, so I found a good in-character reason to not want it. I was like, oh, my peaceful druid doesn't want to bring any more people into this fight, which made sense.
My excuse is I was just still getting over Meepo's death.
Plus, you still had Erky Timbers, who's
great. I like him.
Yeah, he's actually really useful as a cleric. So after that, we decided to backtrack as a party to the sealed-off area. You used the key to disengage the magic lock. You passed through a room that had a magical orb floating in the southern wall.
We spent too much time on that orb.
Yeah, you guys like, should we or shouldn't we? And you guys just said, forget it. Let's not mess with it and go on.
Yeah, and I was trying to move it along. I was like, guys, let's just forget the orb, and then I just walked through the door. Because I know I burst through doors a lot, but if I didn't, we'd be in every room for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you should check rooms for traps and stuff, but don't do 10 checks.
Well, I did perception, insight, and religion. That's all I did.
My
Connor did arcana, insight, history, religion.
Yeah, I think if all 4 of the orbs would have been lit up instead of 3 shattered and 1 lit up, it would have been less intriguing. I think we would have just assumed they were lighting the room or something.
Yeah.
I think what I'll do from now on is I will have everyone make a perception check and then one other check of their choice. Because right now, in this game, there were almost each of you guys, not all but some, who were doing like 10 checks per room. And I'm trying to juggle back and forth. I'm trying to...
G and I are looking at each other like, who could that have been?
There were 2 times that I counted, probably more than that, where I accidentally gave away some secret information.
At least 3. I can think of 3 off the top of my head.
Yeah, they weren't like game breaking or story breaking, but they were information that you guys were supposed to investigate, like the name of someone.
Well, because you told us...
You also give away traps a lot.
You told us the gnome, because we didn't know it was a gnome at the time.
Well, that pit wasn't a trap.
The demon.
You told us the name of the demon.
You gave away the arrow trap. I just was like, well, I said my character's going through, so I'll go through.
How did I give away the arrow trap?
Every time we walk into a room there's going to be a trap in, you say, okay, and do you just walk in? Every time it's a trap room, you say that.
Okay.
So
I need to remember not to do that.
And then when we came to the dragon statue, you said dragon door.
Well, that dragon statue wasn't a door. I misspoke.
But it did open a door. I knew it would. But yeah, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, actually.
So anyways, you skip through the floating orb room. There's a hallway with an arrow trap that Hunt triggered.
That did nothing. Connor was mad at me for triggering it. Like he
did 5 damage to you.
It was like 5 damage, and it wasn't even to you, dude. That's like nothing. I was a level ahead of you guys because I got a level when I beat the dragon solo.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to say. Well, Hunt and
I mean, to be fair, that was very much warranted.
Yeah. In fact, I didn't even ask for it. You and Connor were both like, give him a level for that. And he was like, you know what? I will.
Connor wanted to know if he got any XP for it.
That dragon
Getting the XP for sneaking?
That
was funny when you said that.
That dragonling was at full health when you came to rescue G and Connor. So heck yeah, I'll give you a level for that. But anyways, they come across this room with a red and white marble dragon statue, and it has a riddle. And I tried to set it up like, ooh, mysterious.
We didn't even let you finish. G and I were immediately like, it's stars. The answer is stars.
And then I revealed that there's an episode of Jimmy Neutron where it's that seems so out of left field, but this riddle was so similar. And that's how I knew it, because I watched an episode of Jimmy Neutron when I was a kid.
It's like, we appear at night and then we leave by day. What are we? It's like, it's stars. What do you think, I'm a preschooler?
I'm like Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. Stars.
When we just blurted it out, you made this face like, okay, I guess they got it.
Which opens up a secret door to a hallway with these elven statues. And I probably did mess it up. But there was an encounter here where you guys were supposed to fight a Quasit, which is this low-level demon that got stuck in here hundreds of years ago in this tomb. And the way the book laid it out, it says when a character either climbs out of the pit after falling in or successfully crosses it, the Quasit attacks. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't say how or when, but so you, Hunt, made it across the pit first. And I'm like, okay, Quasit time. So this Quasit, whose name was Jot, by the way, but you wouldn't know because you killed him real fucking.
We knew because you accidentally revealed it, but that was a fine accidental reveal because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also destroyed that guy. They did help, didn't they?
I threw a javelin at him.
Yeah,
I feel like I got the final blow on everything but the first goblins this time.
And Jot the Quasit rolled really low on initiative. He went last.
He did go last.
After Hunt, G, and Connor were all throwing stuff at him, he was like, no, I don't want to go back to hell.
Yeah, because I remember the way I beat him was I stabbed him in the gut, and then I took the scimitar all the way down to the ground so he was split and had longer legs and no lower torso.
Yeah, but see, when you kill a demon on the material plane, they don't exactly have like guts and entrails. It's more like an avatar that's being controlled from hell. So when you killed him, what?
Okay, so I just thought of something. You finish your thing first.
So when you killed him, there was some blood, of course, but it wasn't like, just a gore bag falling open. He kind of disintegrated like Thanos snapping his fingers and then said, no, I don't want to go back.
I went back.
What I was thinking was, so the pit had wooden spikes in it, and Connor is always very afraid of athletics checks for some reason.
Despite him having actually very high dexterity.
Have you guys seen his stats? He
No.
rolled really well for all. Like he doesn't have like a +4 to strength, but there's not a single thing that he doesn't have a plus in.
Well, you wouldn't know because he plays like he hides behind us during combat, and he makes us go first before everything. I guess he's just being safe, but it's a little too safe.
I think because the first session he died almost like twice. So I think he's a little gun shy.
Yeah, actually, this is
he's traumatized.
Connor has died twice now. He died once with a crit fail.
He didn't die. He got knocked unconscious and was dying.
I'm sorry. I should have clarified.
We should have let him. I'm just joking.
But
I think honestly he's just a little gun shy.
Could be. But yeah, he's had to make death saving rolls twice in this game so far.
I've only had to do it once.
So
I don't lose HP, so I don't have to do it at all.
And just to add insult to injury of how cautious Connor was being about this pit, Hunt's character used a vine whip to swing across. G's character is just naturally a buff boy, so he's like, whoa!
And the cleric did a somersault over it. He rolled great.
I made an athletics check for Erky Timbers. He rolled like 18.
That's without the modifiers and stuff.
Yeah, that was without the modifiers. So he not only cleared the jump, he did acrobatics to show off.
This is a gnome, so it was like.
So I kind of those little stubby legs.
Yeah, I kind of shamed Connor's character into make the jump. It's not that hard. It's 10 feet. So he
ties a rope to himself, then throws the rope across the pit, and
he's like, "Hold on to me!" And okay.
At first, he wanted to just use fire and burn the spikes to the bottom and just crawl across.
And then Big Boy Chungus was like, "It's still a 10-foot drop, bud. It's still dangerous.
You will take fall damage."
This is what I wanted to say. So I was gonna be like, "What if I was just a jerk?" And when he got rid of the spikes, I cast spike growth in the pit.
Yeah, he has a spell that literally grows caltrops on steroids from the ground.
He just cast spike growth in the pit.
I mean,
and it's camo. You can't see him either.
Yeah, he would have had to make a perception check and gone, wait a minute, this doesn't look like normal grass.
Hey there, what's this? Yeah.
I would have totally allowed that, and Connor and you would have had to deal with the consequences.
He would have been so mad. But then he made a perfectly good athletics check and just jumped across. He was like, give me my rope back.
Because his athletics isn't that high, but his dexterity, which means his acrobatics, is actually really good.
Yeah, and you always let us roll on whichever one we choose. So.
Yeah,
I do the same thing.
Yeah, you either can be brutally strong, or your reflexes and precision can just be on point. So it's whatever. Then the last room in this little run before we called it an evening was the head priest's room, and this was basically a tomb where the archpriest for this dragon cult that you guys have been uncovering over the course of this campaign was being housed. And you come in, there's 4 torches in the room, one of which is glowing green in the corner, and there's this massive sarcophagus. It's 9 feet long, 5 feet wide, and it just has these 6 iron bars on it that are just keeping it closed.
Yeah, and somebody wanted to do 5 checks on a torch, and we were like, leave it alone.
It's a torch.
Help us strength check and get the stuff off this sarcophagus. We knew it was going to be a big boss, but we also wanted that loot.
And then he was saying, like, don't get too close so that way you don't get in the range of my shots. I'm like, we've got to tear the bars off this thing.
I want to help with the strength check, but also ready in action for my crossbow. So, like, you're using one hand to pull, but you're also holding your crossbow back? You can't do that.
Let me say, I love Connor, and I love
do too.
DMing
I love
him.
Connor.
We're not making this a ragging hour on Connor, but
everything we're saying on the podcast, we have absolutely said to his face.
Yes,
I guarantee it.
So yeah, you basically the way that this part of the encounter was written in the book was that this is kind of like a combined strength or dexterity effort. So you guys got to like all roll strength checks, and whoever rolled the highest one would go towards ripping the bars off. And then you all got to collectively add your strength modifiers to lift this half-ton granite sarcophagus lid.
You rolled a nat 20 during that, which really helped us. That really...
Even Erky Timbers got a nat 20 in there, and he uses angry gnome strength and pulled a bar off by himself.
And then tell us about the boss.
So you open up the sarcophagus, and you see a 7-foot-tall, green-skinned, pointy-eared humanoid open his eyes.
And you had a great mini for that, too.
Yeah, so this guy is a dragon priest who was sealed away who knows how long ago, and he was, in fact, the head priest of the dragon cult. However, he's been in that sarcophagus for so long that he did not remember his name, but he could still speak in Draconic and Elvish, which he did speak in both over the course of this conflict. But he wasn't just any average priest. He had tampered with troll magic before he was sealed away in this coffin, so he had troll-like qualities. He had
so cool.
Regenerative skin.
Which he didn't get to use.
No.
Yeah, no, to be fair, the level...
Big Boy Chungus is literally getting up to leave.
No. I'm looking for that mini that I was using.
The level you got...
the Destroyer?
Yeah. The Destroyer.
That is a Devourer.
Oh, Devourer.
Oh, Devourer, yeah.
The level you got from that really helped in the battle. For the level you got from the dragon.
Yeah, because without that level, I wouldn't have had my flaming sword.
But
it's just a sword. It's a sword made of pure fire.
I did almost all the damage to him.
And Connor,
not all of it.
You helped.
Yeah, I did.
You did damage. You did plenty of damage.
Someone was wanting to know.
Connor was wanting to know whether or not poison damage would work.
Well, no, someone asked something about undead, and I'm like, the guy's not dead. He's not a zombie. He is genuinely alive.
That was good. It was suspended animation, not undead.
I had used my divine sense to detect evil, and it was the whole thing is that it would let me detect fiends, undead, and something else. But you said you could sense evil, but you didn't detect any of those.
Yeah, basically the way I describe it is that you look at the coffin and you see the menacing kanji from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure floating around.
Yeah, no, immediately I thought Dio, and he said, like, there's a coffin there with bars on it. And all I thought was just Dio.
So
where's my body, JoJo?
I'll burn your dog again.
Oh, no.
Well, you already killed your son. So.
He's
no longer there.
You're single-handedly responsible for his death.
I was single-handedly responsible for a lot of people's deaths.
Most of them
I am on a crusade.
Not as much as Fate, but...
I am on a crusade after all.
Fate was this close. I've got half an inch between my fingers of Fate becoming a murderer.
What did you save? You didn't save a darn thing.
I love Ultraman movies. But,
so this guy rises from his coffin, all 7-foot green skin of him, and he shouts in Elvish, which Connor was happy because his character does speak Elvish.
Finally, because he's just been sitting, because we've been talking in, like, Draconic the whole campaign, and he can't understand it. He's the only person that can't.
We've been talking in Draconic, but I keep forgetting to just relay and translate information to him. So he's just been kind of sitting there, just like, I'm just along for the ride.
He's really glad that we got Erky Timbers, because Erky Timbers, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you guys, he speaks Goblin, Draconic, Gnomish, and Common.
I feel like if we're going to...
Yeah, I noticed the Goblin.
I feel like if you're going to go to this Citadel, you have to speak Draconic at some point. Because literally everyone except Connor's character speaks Draconic.
I think I chose Draconic as my optional language. I was like, I'm a reptile. I should know Draconic. And
So yeah, this elvish, half-elf, half-troll dragon priest is rising from the grave, basically yelling curses at you guys. Not cursing you, but he's saying, now your doom is nigh, blah, 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 bad guy.
I said, cease your heresy.
So, yeah, you guys wound up kicking his butt. Hunt got first attack with his new flaming sword spell.
Yeah, so I had my scimitar in one hand and my flaming scimitar in the other hand, which does a ton of damage, but it takes a spell slot, so I'm just saving it for like bosses and stuff.
Yeah, and Connor kept asking, does this guy have any weaknesses, any resistances? And I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, you can't give him that stuff.
But you did actually a really good job. By using the flame sword, you did attack and make contact, and you slashed his arm. And what I did to kind of flavor, giving you guys a little bit of information about a certain weakness.
That was very good of you. That was very smart.
That he saw the wound and he started freaking out a little bit, because he started saying, like, in Draconic, why isn't this working? Why am I not healing? And because trolls have a natural healing ability, but it's negated with both fire and acid.
And then all three of us were like, we have those things.
Like, I have Searing Smite. I'll just make you burst into flames.
So yeah, you smacked him with your great sword with holy fire,
which was awesome, by the way.
Connor got a couple of enchanted bolts in there with his crossbow.
I thought he missed everything.
Oh, did he?
Did.
Yeah, he didn't hit.
10.
I don't think he hit anyone except those goblins at the beginning the whole time.
And then Erky Timbers started throwing some shade. He says, you call yourself a true priest? Watch as I perform miracles of Paylor. And he gives you guys like this cool blessing, which gives you like advantage on all of your attacks and +4.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, it gives you extra D4 to your attack rolls and damage and saving throws.
That really helped.
Can you believe that's a level 1 spell?
Yeah, thanks to that, I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, and
that guy had a high AC.
Yeah, he had 18 AC, 30 HP. He wasn't a full troll, so he was a lot less difficult than I'm going to tell you right now, you guys would not survive a real troll fight.
Yeah, we know.
Even with flaming swords, it'd be a bloodbath. But you guys defeated him, and you, Hunt, actually got the final killing blow again.
Yeah, and I got it on my regular scimitar, so I like to explain my own killing blows. So I shoved the scimitar into his heart, and then when I pulled the sword out, the heart was on the sword.
And this troll dragon priest half elf is,
which sounds so cool.
He's in disbelief, and he clasps the hole where his heart used to be. He says, "No, why have the elder dragons forsaken me?" And then he like falls flat on his face.
So this like boss level character took us 2 turns?
I think it was 2 rounds, yeah.
And I feel like one of the reasons why you guys are doing really well, I mean, the weakness definitely played in your favor, but you guys have also had the initiative advantage on most of your fights for this session. You guys just had at least 4, at most 8 people on your side of a fight all the time.
And after that battle, you gave Connor and I both another level, and my paladin just suddenly became the beefiest cake to ever walk the face of the earth.
And I'm just like a little ahead of them, so I'll probably level up just a little bit before you guys again, maybe. And
yeah, you'll have to do a lot of heavy lifting if you want to reach level 4 by the end of the campaign.
I'm not expecting to, because I know it's a 1, 2, 4, and then the other one's like start at 4 in that book. So.
But yeah, so we stopped it there for an evening because we just got tired and wanted to call it. But
plus, we're gonna play all day tomorrow with our other group, so I don't want to do weeks like this all the time. Where it's
I totally get it.
I mean, we got so many other games we haven't even played for the podcast yet.
Yeah, we need to start getting back into the regular board games that we usually play since the quarantine is slacking off a little bit.
They're less stressful and you get less invested.
But I think next time we will finish up the Sunless Citadel, because you guys just have the rest of the Goblin section of the Citadel to do, and then you've got the Dark below.
That's all I'm concerned with is really the below.
Yeah, goblins are just kind of
In the way at this point.
Yeah, you guys are gonna like the third part of this encounter. It's gonna be fun.
I'm better.
I was terrified we'd beaten the end boss with that.
Oh, no, because we still haven't even found the 2 other people we need to
I
find.
thought that was just a side quest.
You guys keep forgetting about Belok or Belok.
Yeah, that's the main quest.
Yeah, because Urky Timbers, remember, told you guys that Belok was a sorcerer who came here a long time ago and made his home in the guts of the Citadel.
Yeah, and instead he took the 2 humans, which are who we need. We already have the proof for the ranger, now we just need the proof for the quote-unquote kids.
The misunderstanding I had is I thought he said that the goblins took the kids.
They did.
The goblins captured them, and then Belok came up to them and says, "Where are the 2 humans you captured? I want them." Or the 3 humans you captured, I want them.
Oh, that's my fault. I missed that part.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, we already know what happened to the ranger. He was fed to rats.
We know you spend most of your time picking your nose, so... Just poking your brain a little bit.
You know I'm not afraid to throw things at you.
I know, because you threw a metal fork at me earlier. You threw a knife at Connor today.
Let's not start a PvP session.
I have thrown
initiative.
I have thrown full water bottles at Hunt before.
But yeah, you guys think that's good for today?
Yeah, I think, well, that's where we left off. You guys defeated the elf troll dragon priest, and we called it a day after that. Divvied up the loot, levels were had. Everyone is now at level 3, so I think we are all set for the next session. So this is a campaign that we've been running for...
about a month.
About a month, yeah, and we finally wrapped it up. And basically what I'm going to be talking to you guys about with is 1, the finale, and 2, just kind of going through the dungeon and mentioning some of the stuff that you guys either missed. I don't like to say did wrong, because you guys can literally do whatever you want in this kind of game, but maybe some of the more optimized choices you guys could have made.
Well, let's roll for initiative to see who gets to start off the podcast. Well,
8, 4,
14. I'm going to yield to the DM, as is custom on D&D episodes.
Okay, so the first thing, as we talked about the last time, you guys had just made contact with some goblins after defeating Calcrix the White Dragon. You guys rested up, decided, hey, we need to get back in there and figure out what's going on. So you guys make it back to the elongated hallway that was deep in goblin territory. And one of you guys made the decision to check out some of the doors that had been explored by the kobolds previously.
Yeah, that was my decision. I was like, let's go that way, because it's 2 doors to the same ominous hallway. That has to be where we're going.
So you guys follow that, and that actually took you right into the main boss's chamber for the goblin tribe. In this room, I'm pulling up the map right now.
Yeah, it was the hobgoblin and the bugbears and the goblin shaman, right?
Well, there were 3 hobgoblins. I just used the bugbear miniatures because I didn't have 3 total hobgoblins.
Sorry, I just remembered the visual.
Because there was one goblin.
Well, the other
leader.
2 hobgoblins were only like lieutenant lackeys or whatever, so they didn't have a bunch of armor or anything. They were mainly like wearing leather loincloth / basic crude armor. There was one hobgoblin whose name was Dern, and he was wearing spike armor, earrings, and a necklace, and a bunch of other stuff, which, upon further inspection, was all stuff that the missing persons you guys were looking for were actually wearing.
Yeah, and Connor, I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit, took it off his corpse and then tried to sell it to the mother of the people that it belonged to. And we were like, this isn't Skyrim, boy. and the mom was like, these are my children's, my children's.
The first thing I said was, first off, this was an heirloom from my grandmother. I gave this to my daughter before she died.
Oh,
what are you doing? Yeah, we're jumping ahead just a little bit. But, so yeah, you guys actually did pretty well. It was a good fight. One of you, there was I forgot to mention, in addition to the hobgoblins, there was also a goblin shaman named Grell, who you guys were fighting against too. And I'm going to be totally honest, this fight could have gone either way. Between the natural environment hazards, which in the middle of this room there is an 80-foot 10 by 10 shaft that you guys could have fallen into and would have killed any person just instantly. But you guys didn't die, and in fact, you actually killed one of the hobgoblins in that way.
We fared extremely well in that fight.
Yeah, you did. You killed the two hobgoblin lackeys right off the bat. They did get some hits in, but nothing too detrimental. You killed one, I think Clarence Hunt's character killed one of the hobgoblins.
Clarence Spellshell! Oh yeah, we should probably say who our characters were, just as a quick recap, after you finish describing the room.
And, so yeah, one hobgoblin was killed via sword. The other one was tossed down the shaft. And then the hobgoblin leader and the shaman, when all things look lost, turned on one another. The last time you guys saw the hobgoblin Dern, Grell said something in Goblin, which Urki Timbers understood, the NPC with you guys, but he didn't share with you what it was. And basically she cast Inflict Wounds, which is a very powerful yet low-level spell, and turned him to pudding. So yeah, at this point now, Grell has surrendered to you guys and Clarence Spellshell.
Yeah.
What was your character, G?
Maestan Balasar.
Yeah.
And
Clarence Spellshell was a Tortle Paleo Druid.
And Balasar was a Dragonborn Paladin.
And Connor's character, who shared the same name.
Yeah, he was a... What kind of artificer is he?
He is a...
Human?
He is a human artificer, and at level 3, he took on the subclass of Archivist, which is an Unearthed Arcana subclass, but it's not that overpowered, so I let it happen.
He's a glorified librarian, isn't he?
Well, see, Artificers create items to flavor their spells. Alchemists, which is an official subclass, create potions. Battlesmiths create artifacts. Basically, what Archivists do is they create spell scrolls.
But yeah, we found out that the hobgoblins had actually taken over the goblin village. So we kind of freed the goblin village from the hobgoblins.
Yeah, the reason why Grell turned on Dern was because the goblins lived here for a long time, but then the hobgoblins came in and said, we're bigger than you, but we're still technically goblinoid, so you should listen to us. And they bullied the goblins into working for them. But Grell didn't want this. She wanted them gone so that she could take over control again for the goblin tribe, and also to work closer with Balek, the druid leader of the Sunless Citadel, down in the depths of the Citadel itself. So after that, Grell said that she would give you guys a heads up as to what you would expect, and give you safe passage to and from the Goblin Village on one condition, that you kill Balek but do not harm the Gulthias tree, because the goblins still want to take the fruit that is grown from it so that they can continue selling it to Oakhurst Village. In this case, the Gulthias tree to them is like a god nature spirit, even though it's an abomination. So
just like me. Hashtag twinsies.
I didn't say that. You need to have more self-confidence.
Hashtag twinsies.
Anyway, so you guys get a heads up and begin making your way down the shaft, which is relatively somewhat easy to do because there's lots of vines and stuff growing on the side. But one of you guys did make you guys failed a throw.
That was me.
Yeah, you almost fell 80 feet, and I had to, that was when I introduced you to what fall damage was.
Yeah, because I think
he was just going to let you fall too. I was like, let him make a save, let him make a save.
It was a crit fail, and I fell down the hole, and then I had to make a dexterity saving throw, which I managed to make.
Yeah, the book said that if for a dexterity save, for any kind of saving throw like that regarding the vines, it had to be at least 15. And I think you rolled like an 18 total.
Yeah.
Because your dexterity is not bad for someone who's mainly a
My athletics is better, but my dexterity is not bad either.
Right. So you guys finally get down. And I'm going to be totally honest. I wasn't sure how well you guys would fare because there were a lot more rooms than I had previously described.
Well, to be honest, I'd also kind of expressed my burnout with Dungeons & Dragons because I was playing in multiple groups and I didn't want to play anymore. And I just wanted it to be over. So you kind of shortened it to kind of help me out. And I do appreciate that.
True. But there were also several more instances for combat and fights. And had you guys gone through them, Balek probably would have been a much more challenging foe.
Also, some of us are built like garbage.
Yeah.
Cough, cough, some of us.
Hush. So I'm just gonna run through the story or the run through that you guys did, and then I'll go back and tell you what all I cut out and what you guys missed. So you guys came into the lower level of the Citadel, and it's basically just a 40 square foot garden of various moss, mushrooms, and luminescent plants. You guys see a door on the far wall, which you guys actually got through relatively easy. It wasn't really locked, and so you guys just opened it up, and two of you made very successful stealth checks. One of you did not.
I did the Kronk shuffle.
So Connor and Hunt made successful stealth checks, because I did explain to them that this is a laboratory-like room where there is a main experimental station with various tables and stools, and then there's 6 stalls where you can hear various noises and things are going on. So Clarence buckled down and he got all stealthy. Connor, who is an artificer but built like a rogue, was stealthy as well. And then Glendy G rolled... Sorry, minus than Balasar. Rolled like a 5 on stealth. And I basically said, you hunch over, get ready to sneak, and your chainmail just goes... And you basically just alerted all of the guards. Luckily for you, there were only 2 of them out of the 10 living creatures that were in this room. And you guys actually got through half of this area with just charisma checks.
Yeah, my guy was pretty boss on the diplomacy of that whole campaign.
Yeah, the 2 goblins were freaked out to see you guys because you were neither goblins nor Balak, who that's all they expect to see.
And then I explained that we destroyed the hobgoblins for him, and they were pretty excited.
Yeah, they told you guys what to expect on the other side of the door that was leading out of this room, and then those 2 guards and the 8 other goblin commoners rushed over to the shaft area to try and rejoin their comrades to celebrate. So after you guys left that room and picking it clean of what little treasure there was, you actually got an extra scimitar out of it.
I got several extra scimitars out of it. I used minge to fix them.
Yeah, they were all rusted and busted. But yeah, you were really cool with your cantrips there, so you got a bunch of brand new shiny weapons.
And I got a special potion.
Mm-hmm. And the next room was an elongated garden hallway, but this one was occupied. Had a bugbear gardener in it, which again would have posed another threat, but you guys talked it way down.
I think I came through on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Because I pulled out the secondary potion. I was like, hey, this guy's hired us, and I brought a perfected version of the potion he's trying to make. And I rolled like an 18, I think.
Oh, yes, that's one more thing I forgot to mention from the last room. Before the other 2 goblins guards left, they showed you a diseased rat that was strapped down in one of the 6 stalls that they told you had been infected by a potion that Balak was working on from the sap of the Gulthias tree. This rat basically had bark-like skin and various warts and boils forming on its skin that looked like fruit flesh. Very disturbing imagery. And you lied your butt off telling him that you had a more refined version of the potion that he had contracted you guys to work on, and the bugbear totally bought it. So that was genius. So she not only let you guys through again, but she gave you another heads up on what was to be expected in the future rooms, which leads us to the rune circled dragon statue room. So do you guys recall any of that?
You can go ahead. You're doing a good job.
Okay. So in that room, you noticed that there was a circle, a stone circle in the middle of the floor with runes encompassing its edges. And right in front of the circle was a stone dragon statue of a dragon from the dragon cult. And for those that could speak Draconic, you learned that the circle had said... Trying to check my notes here.
Quote unquote notes.
Let the sorceress power illuminate my spirit. And you guys had run into this kind of stuff before, where there were dragon statues and draconic runes on the floor.
One of us gave us fire breathing, the other one gave us cancer.
Yeah.
Thank Hunt for that one.
And so you guys eventually figured out that by standing within the circle and saying the quote in Draconic, that it in fact gave you guys a charisma buff, where you guys all got advantage on charisma checks for 24 hours.
I don't think I actually used that either.
Someone did. I remember.
However, this alerted a shade that was hiding in the room.
Oh, right.
Which didn't matter because we destroyed it.
Connor destroyed it.
Yeah.
No, I destroyed it.
Someone used Dissident Whispers.
That's right. You beat the crap out of it, but Connor just finished it off with Dissident Whispers.
But, didn't you cheat a little?
How so?
Didn't I supposedly one-shot it and you left it alive?
I'm going to be a bad player here. I saw the dice roll where he had about 6 health left, but it was only taking like 2 turns, and I saw you fib and only put it at 4 health left.
Okay, that was my mistake then.
Either you heard me wrong or you cheated.
I usually try not to fudge dice rolls because that's just, that takes kind of the fun out of it. I
fudged several times when I ran Rick and Morty for you guys the first time because you would have died if I didn't.
If I did make a mistake, it was genuinely a mistake. I was not intentionally trying to fudge a roll.
Not like it killed anyone or was a life-threatening thing.
Yeah,
it killed it the next turn.
It didn't even matter.
Right, and then after that, you all made perception rolls, and 2 of you rolled nat 20s and saw that there was a block sticking out of the back of the wall hiding treasure, which included 3 bottles of alchemist fire. Gosh, it's almost like I was setting you up for something.
Yeah, I saw those. Because you remember, as soon as we got those, I was like, ooh, that tree's going down. Like, in that room, I was like, that tree is going down.
So you guys got through that.
Except you abandoned your druid stance.
How?
He really didn't. He's a druid, not a cleric. But
if I was a cleric, I still would have destroyed that tree.
Not just the tree, though.
You left that room through the second exit. Meant to explain that earlier. But this exit led you to the hallway that led you directly to Balek's office, as the Bugbear Gardener explained. There you found several items of interest, including a diary of Balek, a list of ingredients for various experiments, all of which were grisly, and a book concerning dragon treasure, which G's character gladly took for his personal interests.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember because I was looking through that book and then I gave it to you.
Right, the book, yeah.
After that, you guys pretty much cleaned his room of all information, and this began the long trek to Balek himself. There were 3 sections after you leave the office. There was a smaller section where a bunch of goblins were doing some more gardening. They were startled by you and called for aid from the Dark Lord, Balek, in which 4 twig blights showed up. So it was 4 goblins, 4 twig blights versus you 3 plus Urky Timbers.
Alchemist Fire and some nat 1s on the twig blights. The turns made that a much easier combat than it should have been.
Yeah,
neither of them are really tough opponents, but they just had the numbers on us,
Right. Even if an enemy is really weak, advantage usually falls on those who have more minions. Strength in numbers, whole deal. After that, you guys made your way through the first section of the Darklight Grove, which was mainly just full of a bunch of thorns and fog. But as you guys are descending this hill area, you can see the Gulthias tree branches way off in the distance. Eventually, you begin approaching the tree, which seems to have the ruins of some old walls surrounding it. And in there, you can see what looks to be a young man and a young woman, the man clad in armor, the woman in mage's robes, a hooded, cloaked figure with a long beard. Did I ever show you guys images of...
No.
I'll show
No, you can show them to us later, not now.
I'll show them to you later.
No point doing it now.
And 4 other twig blights. As you guys were approaching, Connor and his character decided to stealth. And
hide the entire combat, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my phone, my bad.
You, Urky, and G's character, My Stand, decided to approach. And this is where Balek started to monologue a little bit.
Yeah, well, I got his attention because we were both druid boys. So, that's that. So he was, more than willing to talk to me. Although I'm sure he would have monologued either way.
Yeah.
But it made more sense, at least.
Right. So
It's all in Druidic, so I'm just sitting there, just like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, because I remember afterwards I turned to you and I was like, "Okay, it's time. Let's do this."
All right.
yeah, basically what he did is he explained to you what had happened to Sir Bradford and Sharwin Huckrell, which were the people you were looking for, and
The quote-unquote kids.
He basically turned them into mind-controlled servants by having them ingest sap from the Gulthias tree, much like the rat. Their skin was bark-like. In fact, even in their stat blocks, they had like a permanent bark skin buff, so that way even if their armor was broken, they still had high AC. There was Balak himself, who had a Wand of Entanglement, and he was a 3rd level druid caster, so he was as strong as you guys. And then, in addition to the 4 twig blights, there was one other enemy that you did not see, which was Balak's pet frog.
We saw him.
I knew it was there,
Yeah.
but I didn't know it was going to join the fight.
Yeah, I think he was the one that percepted it, but I remember somebody percepted it for sure.
Because I looked up, because I rolled a high enough perception, I saw the apple and I saw the frog.
If it seems like G and I aren't contributing much, that's because we did this like a week ago.
Yeah, I've got some quote-unquote notes here from that time, and I'm basically giving the summary of it. So it's a little fuzzy on the memory. But actually, once the combat actually started, after Balak told you his master plan, his connection with the tree, why he took the kids, all that other stuff, he basically just gives you an ultimatum. You can either drink the sap and become his servants or die.
I considered. Well, he didn't say drink the sap and become the servants. He just said join him. I seriously considered it because I'm also a druid and I was leaving the campaign anyway. So I was like, should I do it? Because I've kind of carried combat for most of this campaign. No offense.
And there actually is a setup. It doesn't end
Not
well.
That your character is great at combat. I'm not trying to be mean or anything.
The story actually does have it set up where for any characters who do decide to join Balak, it doesn't end well for them, but that is a possible ending.
Yeah.
But so combat started, and you all fought really well. And surprisingly, Balak went out within the first couple of rounds because Connor, who was hidden at this time, made some really good sneak attack rolls.
I don't think you did his stealth correctly that whole time.
I did. Live and learn.
Yeah, we should talk about that later. I don't want to embarrass you.
This is still very much. This is only my 3rd session DMing, so I still made a lot of mistakes. I made fewer than I did when I first started, but live and learn, as I just said, and I'm still making more improvements the more I do it. But yeah, so Balak actually went down after a few rounds. The one who gave you the most trouble was Sir Bradford.
Sir Bradford was tough. His AC was high. He hit hard with that fancy sword.
Yeah, he had a sword called Shatter Spike, which it's already a really good broadsword, but it has an ability where if he wanted to, he could actually target enemy weapons instead of their actual persons, and he had a chance to break them. Normally a weapon doesn't break unless someone rolls a critical fail.
See, and this is where I kind of feel like you might have drifted off from your druid character, because you immediately went to attack the people. And it's just...
No, you didn't. I talked to him first. That was we just said that.
You talked to the wizard, or the druid.
Yeah, the two...
And then they immediately charged you, and
then I protected myself? How's that against the character of a druid, someone who protects nature?
He didn't go against the druid, because the 2 children, Sir Bradford and the Huckrell woman, they were thralls, basically. They had no willingness of their own to either do or don't do anything.
Even after the boss died, they came at us harder.
Well, the way it seemed to me is that you were just kind of doing it just so you could get his sword.
I didn't even know what his sword did until after he was dead.
Yeah, after one of you guys attuned to it real quick, and I explained to you what it was.
Yeah, I didn't know what it did until he was dead, because he didn't try to break my weapons, because my weapons were made of magic.
But, so yeah, Sir Bradford did the most fighting, and his sister put up a decent fight as well. She was throwing cantrips left and right.
Yeah, and everyone was ignoring her, because Bradford was kicking
her
our
butt.
butts.
The thing is that, because Connor was stealth, so he was just off doing whatever he was doing.
He should not have been as stealth as long as he was. I will say that was a mistake.
She took Erky down.
Poor Erky.
So I'm having to fend off the 3 other twig blights while also depending on whether or not I want to use my lay on hands to heal Urki or use my spells to try and buff you because you're tanking the damage right now.
Yeah, because
So
you were fighting all those twig blights by yourself.
So I had to mismanage because I was wanting to destroy the tree first because I wanted to use my alchemist fire to destroy the tree, but then I think Bradford got an upper hand on you at one point.
He was kicking my butt. If I didn't have a ton of healing spells, like I gave myself a bunch of healing spells on purpose, because I was like, oh, low level group, 2 new players out of the 3 players, 2 of them are newbies, so I'm gonna need a lot of healing spells. But then I used them all on me because I was getting my butt kicked.
And so like I cast, I think it's
he was
Divine Shield or something on you to raise your armor class by 2 points, which helped. And then I had to. Because Connor's because of my protection stance, which just gives disadvantage to my allies if I have line of sight of their enemies, immediately thinks that he has to be like a puppy at my side.
More like at your back. No offense to Connor, but his playstyle is weird.
Because like he's right next to me the entire time, and then he dies or goes down, and so I'm having to judge whether or not I want to use because my lay on hands isn't a bonus action; it is my action for that turn. Because
I'm like further from you guys.
So finally, I get to the point where I can get over to Urki and use my lay on hands to bring him back. And then I try to get the sorceress's attention.
And you do eventually do that. And
she's a mage, right?
She was. And she used all of her spell slots trying to attack Connor, because he's the only other quote-unquote real spellcaster, but you guys both obviously...
I'd say we're all real spellcasters.
I'm technically classified as a half-caster.
Sorry, I should have clarified. You're all relatively half-casters. The fact that you all cast spells, you don't really have a need for a sorcerer or a wizard or even a warlock. So that's actually really cool. But you all did succeed. Sharwin was the last one to go down after her brother and Balak and even his pet frog were eventually smited.
And the frog got the upper hand on you because he jumped on you.
Yeah, he jumped on my back, and I was like, I can't deal with this. Normally I try to talk a frog out of it, but he's already attached to another druid, so I just took my fire scimitar, and I was like, off, down, good boy.
He tried to knock you prone, is what he was going for.
The frog died almost instantly, though.
Yeah.
We took that frog out pretty quickly.
Balak went down first, then the frog.
Then Sir Bradford.
And then I think either I or you finished off.
One of you two cut her head off.
It was you.
Because
I finished Sir Bradford, you finished the sister.
And then I went over and healed Connor.
Connor finished his nap. Oh! I'm joking.
One of us, I think, killed the druid.
I think it was you. I think you gave him... No. Was it Urki Timbers that gave him the final blow?
I don't know. Maybe. Urki Timbers was unconscious for the last half of that battle.
I wanted
brought him back.
I wanted to be really ironic and use that potion that he had given earlier and use that on Balak.
Oh yeah, someone else must have killed him then, because you would have done that.
Because a dramatic irony, but...
I feel like it was Timbers. I'm almost sure it was Urki.
I think it was. I remember he cast the Radiant Fire cantrip once, and it had devastating effects.
He did something. I'm sure it was him. Because I didn't do it because I tried, and then Sir Bradford cast shield over him and then attacked me, so I was busy with him. It wasn't me. Connor was unconscious. Glendon was fighting the mage, and if he would have done it, he would have done it his way. So, Timbers is all that's left.
Yeah. But you guys did awesome, and then all that was left was to deal with the tree. And you guys decided, break out the alchemist's fire.
Yeah, I didn't really do anything to the tree because it was already almost basically destroyed by the time it came around.
I will say Connor had the smart idea. He cut the apple from the tree first.
He shot it down. He rolled a nat 20 on a knife throw, and I said, okay, this apple, you pit the stem with your knife, and the apple bounces gracefully from branch to branch, and it falls delicately in your hands.
And then, he realized it had healing properties, and then just almost ate the whole thing because...
Yeah, we probably could have healed those 2 people with it, but we totally decapitated them. So.
I'll explain how that worked once we finally wrap up the epilogue.
I kind of didn't. As a player, I didn't care, and as a character, I didn't know. So...
The only reason I wasn't all gung-ho just go ahead and kill them was just because I felt like my paladin character would do all he could to try and save them before resorting to killing them.
Yeah, you role-played great that session.
And you guys did manage to get out of the the dungeon without going through goblin territory, because it turns out the kobolds were tunneling in that area, trying to expand their territory, and they tunneled their way into, the lower garden. And so you guys crawled back up. There was a party waiting for you. You guys had some nice one-on-one role-playing with the captured Calcrix, and then left heroes to the kobolds, heading back to Oakhurst Village, where some more good role-playing took place and some not so good.
Connor really thought there'd be a conspiracy. We spent way too long during the epilogue for this.
No, Connor spent way too long during the epilogue.
Okay, you know what? It's really easy to criticize a guy when he's not here.
No, we said all this to his face.
Oh.
He just thought there was more story and there wasn't. Simple mistake, easy to make, no problem. But your role playing in the shop with the woman was fantastic.
Yeah, I went to the shopkeeper because I had all 3 signet rings because I was the original one given the quest.
Before we do that real quick, let me just explain where everyone went. So you guys kind of separated, but you didn't leave the town right away. Myastan went to the shopkeeper to turn in the quest for the Hookrell family. Clarence with Hunt decided to go to the... you went to the Shrine of Palor.
Bless you.
Thank you.
To do something.
Talk to people, pray.
Right.
Because my character was split. I knew what I was going to do, and my character was like, "There's so much to do here with the nature still." Because we eventually found out, because when we divulged the nature of the tree, it's one of those trees that grows out of a vampire or whatever.
Yes.
Found the skeleton.
Then the clerics were like, "Oh, of course. So all the fruit we've been planting has just been turning into twig blights. So there's hundreds of twig blights roaming around the forest, and that's what's been killing people."
Yeah.
So I was like, do I stay and deal with these twig blights that are upsetting the balance of nature? And I mean, I'm a hero to both the kobolds and the goblins, so my character decided to stay and try to get rid of these twig blights and also try to broker peace between the kobolds and the goblins, because they're basically the same thing except one's a reptile.
and Connor was with you for some of that. He tried...
Yeah, he went to the temple.
He was trying to dig for more conspiracies than there really was. He thought there was like this big organization or group that was killing people, but he was kind of disappointed when he learned that, it's just twig blights that are murdering people in the night.
Then he tried to explain to them.
Yeah, I think he just thought the module would be longer.
And then he tried to explain to them what twig blights were, and they already knew.
And they were like, "We know what twig blights are," and he was like, Erky Timbers was like, "I was there fighting them with you." Classic.
But then go ahead, G, and explain what Myastan was doing in the general shop.
So I went to the general store, and of course I didn't have a happy look on my face. And I approached her and said, she seemed happy because we'd returned from the quest. Everyone else at Deadly Fun had gone missing or left for dead.
You guys were in that dungeon for about a week.
Yeah, and so I came out, and she looked at me hopefully, and I said, we were able to find your children, and unfortunately they were killed in the process.
And she asked you with, a cracked voice, how did it happen?
And I unfortunately had to explain that the first signet ring we found, which was the Rangers, was evidently a family friend, and I said the rats got him. And she shuddered to saying what that meant. And then I told her that her 2 children had been turned into,
they were thralls.
Thralls, effectively, for the main bad guy.
You explained it to her so well. Like, if you would have explained it to her like that in real life, that would have been the best thing you could have said. Like, the way you're
very good bedside manner.
Yeah, your roleplay was great. You gave him a fate point for that, didn't you?
And he still has that.
He deserves that.
And, she just asked, was there anything you could do? And I said, not to my knowledge.
And the thing that sold it the most was when you gave up your reward.
Yeah, because, she had given us $250 for bringing the kids back alive, $125, I think, for
just the signet
rings. And I gave them the signet rings. And I wasn't going to deny you guys your money, because I'm sure you wanted it. But
Connor definitely would have said, "Where's my money?"
Yeah, I told her...
My character probably would have been fine if you gave him the circumstances. He would have been like, this is well.
I told her, look, I can't speak for my companions, but keep my portion. You need it more than I do right now.
And she really thanked you, and she said, I appreciate your generosity. Not many people would do that. But if you'll excuse me now, I need to close the shop and need some time to myself.
I understood and bowed in farewell, and I left.
And then Connor runs in real quick, like, "Don't close up shop, let me sell you your dead dollars, Droid."
So if you guys will remember, the necklace and earrings I told you that Dern was wearing earlier, those were actually family heirlooms that
Yeah.
Lady Hakrell
Yeah.
had worn previously.
And I was cutting it close because the armor the Hobgoblin was wearing was also the other guy's armor.
Well, he was the Ranger's splint armor.
And it's just like, if I had come back wearing that, it would have been like 10 times worse.
Right. So Connor says, here, I got these necklaces I want to try and sell you. And she says, these belong to my grandmother. And I gave them to my daughter before she went missing and now known to be dead. Why do you have them?
Ooh, get Rex Scrub. And it was made worse by the fact that you weren't in there to
vouch that he was one of the ones that went on the adventure with us.
And Connor, I'll give him credit, he played it smart. He said, oh my god, I'm so sorry, here you go. Because had he tried to defend that, the guards would have been called on him.
For sure.
But he did give up and as he's leaving empty-handed with those necklaces, you hear a ka-chunk as the door locks behind him.
Then he went to the blacksmith.
And
he needed an armor enhancement for sure.
He got some good stuff, although I'm going to be totally honest, that blacksmith ripped him off. It was all fine and good, but Connor eventually ran out of money. He still had some items he could have sold, but he thought he could only sell the items at the general store. So instead he ran out of all of his coinage, and basically he said, I want this weapon, but I'm 40 gold short. He says, can I trade you this leather armor for it? And the blacksmith, who's a dwarf, looks and says, yes. This will do fine, just fine. The leather armor was like 80 gold pieces.
Nice.
And so, then he has the audacity. He's like, hey, can I room with you? I just spent all my money. Can I room with you?
He came groveling back to see if he could stay at the end.
And then I just made this like, my religion requires that I pray in solitude.
So we slept inside and he slept on the street.
Well, he slept in because
he slept in a tent.
Didn't the temple offer him shelter?
Yeah.
He
went back to the temple for shelter because after Urki Timbers and the female gnome that runs the temple was so grateful for what you'd done and helping uncover the mystery and dealing with like the brunt of it, that they said, if you're ever in an area where there's a temple of Palor, drop our names and you guys will have support and places to stay as long as it's not illegal business you're on.
Yeah, I never left the temple. I just stayed there. I didn't go back outside.
So that was pretty much the module. Clarence Spellshell is on a peace mission between goblins and kobolds. Maya Stan has a new lead on his personal story regarding the Axe of Tritan, and Connor is
following me for some reason.
Because it's just more convenient for the party.
Yeah, we actually have a better backstory developed for Connor in the next module, which if we, are able to get to it, will be the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus.
Hope you guys die. I'm just kidding.
There's a good chance that might happen.
I'm just kidding.
You're literally diving into hell.
Because Descent into Avernus is a 1 to 13, isn't it?
Yeah. But you guys are going to go in there like level 3, level 4.
Yeah, I won't be there for that, but we'll still make podcasts on it.
Definitely.
If they're fine with it.
I'm more than down for doing a story.
That'll be more me listening and reacting than me putting anything in, though.
But yeah, so do you guys want to hear some of the stuff that you missed or could have done?
Yes, I'm curious.
So, real quick, you guys missed a ton of treasure on your way through this thing.
That's fine, because when I ran Rick and Morty for you guys, you missed almost every single healing potion, so I understand your pain.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the first actual room that you entered in the Citadel? That round room with the goblin pinned to the wall?
No.
I don't remember that at all.
Dude, that's like over a month ago.
So it was the first room. There were several dead goblins on the floor. One of them was pinned to a wall, and there was the name of the ancient dragon that the cult used to worship on it.
Dude, I don't remember that at all.
Okay. I remember us reading something about the ancient dragon. I don't remember the room.
I don't remember any of that.
It wasn't really memorable, but none of you rolled a high enough perception check when you first entered, but there was a secret room with magical items in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but it required a 20, not a nat 20, but a 20 count perception roll. There were various guard rooms that you guys either successfully just snuck around or didn't bother with.
Yeah, there were like 3 rooms we didn't even go in.
On your way to talk to the Kobold Queen, Yusdrael, there were several goblins being held in a prison, which you saw the door, but none of you interacted with it, so you had no idea that the goblins were there.
We were too busy talking to kobolds.
Yeah.
What would they have given us if we had been to the goblins?
Nothing whatsoever. You would have made permanent enemies of the kobolds, and you most likely would have died because there's like 30 kobolds of fighting stature, plus one of them is a spellcaster.
Yeah, so.
And if the goblins did manage to escort you all the way back to the goblin lair, they would have turned on you as soon as they were peer pressured by their fellows to do so.
By the hobgoblins.
Yeah. So you guys would have just not had a good time with that.
Good thing we didn't go into the Goblin City like we did the kobolds.
Yeah.
Well, the reason we went to the Kobold City is because we were escorted there by Meeple.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
You would have to fight guards if we didn't.
Yeah.
Killed Meepo, all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
I'm telling you, if you make that a t-shirt, I will buy it.
I just gotta remember, man.
So yeah, you missed a lot of the guard rooms. There were several. There were just plain rooms with treasure and mobs in them. The thing that you guys really messed up was at the very end when you were fighting Balek, because the ideal optimal thing was attack the tree right away with the bottles of alchemist fire. The tree would have died in like 2 rounds. When the tree dies, Balek loses all influence he has over anyone who's ingested the sap. And it would have gone from a 8v4 battle, where Balek is fighting all of you guys, to a...
Well...
it was basically a 7v1.
You don't think to destroy the tree first because you're defending yourself against everyone else. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like you don't want to take turns.
Had Urki been alive, I probably would have thrown my alchemist fire, but I was having to pull double duty as defending myself and support.
Yeah,
That's right.
you
I'm
really
not saying
kicked
that
butt
was,
during that final combat, my dude.
I'm not saying that what you did was dumb or anything. You guys did make good decisions. You guys got through it. But optimally, attacking the tree would have been the best course of action. Because after that, the tree would have been destroyed. Balek would have been killed because he's way outnumbered, and the only ally he would have had at the time was the frog. But then on top of that, the siblings would have become non-combatants, and you could have easily cured them of their ailment by giving them a quarter of the apple. But instead, one got disemboweled and the other one got their head cut off.
I cut off one's head. Almost, I had this certain feeling that we could cure them, and I was like, my character doesn't know that. Just flop.
Right, and there were several other NPCs back in town that you could have talked to. Like, none of you guys tried to talk to the guard or the guard captain. None of you guys tried to talk to the mayor. Connor actually went into the central town hub's building and then just left because he didn't like what he saw.
Would we have gained anything by talking to them?
A little bit more information about the twig blights and the apples, but nothing that would have been real story changing. But yeah, so that's the gist of what you guys missed. This was a relatively short module, despite taking 3 sessions. But overall, you guys did
It was 4,
really
technically.
Well. That's right.
One weekend was 2 sessions.
That's right. We played twice. But you know what? You guys all survived. None of you have been altered either morally or physically. You all have your alignments intact. I'd say this was a great first session for some new players.
Great success!
And this is going to come completely out of left field, but there was one room that Connor tried to sneak into for roll perception and failed, and he suddenly became scared of the dark.
Yeah.
Was there anything in that room? Because I don't think any of us went back into it.
It was a goblin guard room, but because he rolled a nat 1, I made him think that he was expecting the worst to be in there. He didn't see the fire. He didn't see the goblins that were there. He just froze in fear and said, nope, I don't want to go any further.
He saw darkness, the pure darkness of the void that I face every day.
Cthulhu!
That's another game we need to play.
One that I'm very much looking forward to.
That's pretty much it, right?
Yep, that is the Sunless Citadel.
All right, so thank you all very much for tuning in. You'll hear more of this group's adventures. Once again, I left the group just because I didn't like being in 2 groups. So I'm just going to let them have their fun without me. You need to find a third, though.
I've talked to a few people. They haven't played before, but they're willing to learn. We just got to get scheduling in order.
I know Connor's girlfriend said she was interested. Another one of your friends who I know relatively well, he's a pretty cool guy, said he was interested.
Yeah.
I'd like to play with him sometime, to be honest, just to see what he's like
in
the game. But yeah, Glendon, you did a great job, my dude.
Thank you. I appreciate the support because I'm not quite sure how I played out very well or if I did very well at all. So I'm glad that someone who's played the game a lot says that.
Yeah, you're exactly what people look for in new players, I have to say. So good job. I'll give Connor his compliments when he's here. you know, if he deserves it.
I'm
just
actually,
joking.
I've been talking with Connor one-on-one with character building and, you know, all that stuff. And I think we've actually made a really good character. Just with my inexperience with DMing, I made a lot of mistakes in that regard. I'll take responsibility for that. And Connor did a really good job of working with me, coming up with ideas for that. So
yeah, I can't wait to hear his character backstory. Because now I get to know all the secrets because I'm not in the group anymore. I get to be your confidant.
Yeah, you're my advisor and my editor. Well, sort of. I just bounce ideas off.
Because the hardest part about being a GM is not being able to tell people all your cool ideas.
Or secrets.
Yeah, because I'm studying up to be the keeper for Call of Cthulhu right now. And I really want to tell everyone about the homebrew monster I made, but...
You can tell me.
I can't tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you later, actually. Because you're not in that group. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out the cool links in the description below. We got Facebook, we got Twitter, we got Patreon, we got merch on eBay. But that's it. Thank you all once again, and I'll see you all next time when fate knocks at your door. Please kill me.